Welcome to the Positive Spiritual Living Podcast, brought to you by Unity on the Bay. This is your positive path for spiritual living.
I want to begin by sharing something I heard this week. I heard of these 4 women, Catholic women, and they were sitting together and they were playing bridge and they were having tea and talking about their sons. And one of them said, my son, he is a priest. And when he walks into a room full of women, they call him father. The other lady says, well, my son, he is a bishop. When he walks into a room full of women, they call him your excellency. And they stand up. The third lady, she puts down her cup. And she says, well, as you know, my son is a cardinal. When he walks into a room full of women, they call him eminence. Not only do they stand up, they kiss his ring. Well, the fourth lady, who's just been listening there, she said, well, my son, he's not a member of the clergy. In fact, he is a 6 foot, 2 inches tall bodybuilder who works as a male stripper. And when he walks into a room full of women, they all yell, "Oh my God!" It's good to laugh once in a while. We take ourselves too seriously, my friends. It's good to laugh, and it's good to laugh in the recognition that we all have some talent. We're all here for a special reason, whatever that is. And with that said, let us consciously set an intention right here and right now to deepen in the awareness that God is all there is and that the goodness of God is right where we're at, and we're opening ourselves to this presence as we open our hearts. By opening our hearts, we allow this presence to come forth through us, as us, and do with us what it likes, because it is always for good. Can we do that this morning? Yes. Let's take a breath and open our arms and say, I am ready to expand my consciousness. I am ready to expand my consciousness because I really, really want this to be the best year of my life, right? We're still having it at that time. My God, a year that is light, a year that is full of joy and full of recognition of the divine. The core value that we're practicing this month is living the truth principles. And Reverend Chris began this month about talking about the unity principles. But it's not enough to know them here. It's about being that. It's about living that. So let's discover today the ways that we can live the unity principles, which is the presence of all there is. One thing that I did in December, I got together with a friend of mine, and we spent a whole afternoon together really envisioning and dreaming and seeing, how we wanted to show up this year. Because if it's all energy, what vibration am I bringing forth into my experience? How am I showing up? Who am I here to be? So that I'm not living from my conditioning, from my history, from my programming, but rather from my luminous qualities. And so we did this. We came up with a few words, luminous words, to attach to our I am. Our I am is our divine self. I am that I am. The first unity principle, it's all God. The second one is that we have a spark of divinity. It begins by the recognition of the spark until we realize that it is a bonfire and that it is all there is and that we are divine. Every part of our being is divine. And so I came up with 7 words just because I like the number 7. But one particular word is my anchor this year, how I am willing to show up regardless any situation. And that word for me was clarity. And I invite you to find your own word. Why clarity? When I say to myself, I am, and this is what I did. I have it in my computer, but I also have it in this board because everything here is done with an erasable marker. And it's very, I just touch it and it goes. So I have to continually redo it to remember. So that the mind doesn't play any tricks. I am choosing to every day commit to this. I am clarity. Clarity being the space where everything arises, is keeping that I am without conditioning, because the mind likes to categorize things and make everything into something. I am clarity. I am the space where everything arises in, which is I am present in all my relationships. Wherever I show up, that I can be present and open. Open. That's, to me, is practicing the presence. You might have heard of this. Have you heard of the man that was in New York City, and he was walking and he stopped someone and he said, "Can you tell me, how do I get to Carnegie Hall?" And the answer was, practice, practice, practice. Right? Especially during challenging times. That's when we really got to say, okay, whoa, everything is for me, not against me, because if it's all God and all good, then there's goodness here. And then I remember that, why am I here? Because my Father said it is the good pleasure to give me the kingdom. The kingdom of God is at hand, right here, right now. And it is the Father's good pleasure to give me the kingdom. Now, this Father is not a Father somewhere up there in the clouds. This Father refers to our Creator, our oneness, the essence of all there is that is closer than our very breath, because it is all God, all the one life, all intelligence. So opening up to the Father is opening up to my divinity until I can come to the place of the Father and I are one. Now, we're able to receive the kingdom to the degree that we can open ourselves and believe ourselves to be worthy of the kingdom. Because you might be standing right there, right where you are on sacred ground, and not able to acknowledge that. Two people can be in the same situation, and one can be experiencing hell while the other one is experiencing heaven, right? It's all about a shift in our awareness. And it's an instant shift of recognizing, wait a minute, I can stop this crazy mind and just take a breath and go to the heart. Let's take a breath together. And invite you, if you're going through a challenge right now, if you are carrying some burden right now, set it aside. Set it aside for now. Pick it up later. But empty yourself in this moment as you renew yourself in the Spirit that is the very essence of what you are. You are made in the image and likeness of your Creator, and it is your Father's great pleasure to give you the kingdom of God. The kingdom. And what is the kingdom of God? It is the goodness, and it is an inner. It begins with an inner recognition of this kingdom. See, the shift that needs to take place is the shift of going within and finding the freedom within, because it is that truth that sets us free, where we can find that place that is unshakable in the midst of change out here, so that we don't rely on anything or any person or any situation for our happiness and our stability. We find our stability in this presence. And one great example of this living was Brother Lawrence. Brother Lawrence was a 17th century monk, a Carmelite monk. And when he went into the monastery, they didn't know what to do with him. He didn't have the right education. They didn't think he was smart enough. Some thought he was slow. So guess where they put him? In the kitchen, where he spent most of his life doing the dishes, in the kitchen. But while he was in the kitchen, every dish that he was washing it for God. Everything that he was doing, it was in the awareness that it was all God. And he came to a place of awakening to the realization of his divinity. And then anyone that was in his presence felt the presence. And to this day, his teachings, there's a book on practicing the presence based on his letters and his stories in the monastery. To this day, it is a Christian classic. But he didn't depend on anything on the outer to find this presence. He did not go inside and lament, oh, I am here doing the dishes while the other monks are studying all these books and so forth. No. He found the presence. Just the same as when someone goes into a Zen monastery. You might be cleaning the toilets for 20 years, but you realize your divinity. So I'm not saying that it's not wonderful to have wonderful things in the outside. I'm not saying that. Don't hear me wrong. It is our dependence on anything outer for our happiness. It is wonderful to have the most beautiful Rolls Royce or Mercedes-Benz or a beautiful mansion. Wonderful, because the kingdom of God is made up of everything. But yet, everything in the outer world is continually changing. It's not about depending on anything for our happiness, finding our happiness within us. That is liberation, my friends. That is freedom. And that is what we're here to realize. And we're here to realize that for ourselves and for humanity. And the time is now. This is the year to realize our oneness and realize our divinity for the benefit of all. See, you are the universe celebrating itself. That is how precious you are. Right where you're at is the center of the universe. The universe, the one song. We're all in this together. It's a great symphony, and we all have our parts to play in this symphony, which reminds me of this rooster that he would crow lustily every morning, and he felt that it was his crowing that caused the sun to rise. Then one day, he fell asleep. And when he wakes up, he goes, oh no, and he runs to his hen post, and his hen post was on top of his hen house. And when he gets to his hen post, he realizes that the sun had already come out. The sun had already risen. His world crumbled. His sense of self was destroyed. He no longer had any reason to live. What was he going to do now? And then in an instant, this is how divine grace comes along. In an instant, he had a realization. Okay, it might be that it isn't my crowing that causes the sun to rise, but yet I can come to my hen post every morning and thank the sun for rising. Thank you, sun. Thank you, moon. Thank you, stars. Thank you, rain. Thank you that I have a shower every morning. Thank you that I have a warm bed. Thank you that I have coffee, that I have food. Every moment is an opportunity to say, thank you, thank you. And in this book, Celebrate Yourself by Eric Butterworth, this is what he has to say about the celebration, because practicing the presence is a celebration of life. It's a celebration of the divine that we are. And Eric Butterworth says, the word celebrate means to honor. It does not imply dealing with something that is done as from the outside. Rather, it is giving a very special blessing to something. In the true spirit of celebration, you are not just a loud, laughing spectator. You are an involved participant. You become a conscious channel for the cosmic flow. We're all here in this cosmic celebration of existence, to be an involved participant. See, you have no idea how many people come to me and tell me, I get this whole God thing, but I'm a human being, and I have an ego, and then the mind likes to categorize, and we make the ego our enemy. And we come up with all kinds of reasons why we can't just be this presence. But I think as humanity, as a species, we are evolving to the point where we no longer need to make the ego the enemy. that we could take responsibility for our thinking, that we're not our thoughts, and just begin to practice resting in this presence, practice stopping and being. And the moment you catch yourself going from your history and going from your conditioning, whoo, just like the rooster did. Okay, I am not the cause of this, but I can certainly celebrate it. Because it's not an I, like a separate me. No, it's time to put away our personality. It is time for something greater to come forth through us, as us. And it's challenging. It is very challenging because we are so stuck in the story of a separate little me. We're so stuck in our history. But when we come together in communities like this, we help each other evolve. We help each other in our awakening. And then we can celebrate it as we become involved participants. And what does it mean to be an involved participant? It really is about making ourselves available for the flow of life. And the flow of life, be the teacher. Guide me, show me. It's awakening our intuition. It's a stopping and living our lives as a life of prayer. Prayer as simply just stopping and recognizing the breath, that in the breath is light, in the breath is prana, is healing energy, is love. And I just take a breath and I know that it is the divine essence of all there is breathing through me as me. So my whole life is a prayer. My whole life is a recognition of my oneness. And then, if I am present, life becomes the teacher. Life is continually showing us the way. And when we make a mistake, so what? The universe has a way of always bringing everything back into alignment, right or wrong, right? So, be what you were meant to be, no matter what. And then we recognize that all of life is sacred. All life is sacred. And then all life can be an opportunity to recognize this as a namaste. Namaste is the divine in me, salutes the divine in you. So namaste to my family, namaste to my friends, namaste to all life. Turn to the person next to you and say, namaste. I recognize the divinity in you. Namaste, namaste, namaste. And it is so wonderful to say namaste to the people we love, to the people we like, right? But I'm going to invite you to say namaste to those that push your buttons, those that trigger every part of your being. Namaste to you. Let's all say namaste to you. Namaste to every person, every situation in my life that has been challenging, because that's how we grow, and that's how we recognize our divinity, and that's how we come to know the power in us, because sometimes it humbles us, sometimes it gets us to our knees, but when we're willing to recognize that everything that comes in our way is truly a blessing, and that everything, those people that trigger our buttons and push and it hurts, is just showing up things in us that are calling forth to be healed. That's all it is. And so we can stop and breathe and feel, and we don't have to make the person the enemy. We don't have to go into our minds and go and create a whole story about it, because in fact we're here to release the stories so that we can be free, because it is the truth that sets us free. And we can so easily get caught up in our minds and in our thinking and these crazy monkeys. So instead we want to stop and feel and say, okay, I am going to open my heart and be with this situation, whatever it is. I'm going to feel whatever it is. And if you are willing to do that, I guarantee you that at some point, divine grace will come forth and you will have a revelation. Because it always, always does. And then you go, ah. And a part of you that you had been abandoning, that you had pushed away, will be integrated. And more we integrate ourselves. We integrate every part of our beings that we have abandoned throughout our journeys. And I don't care how good your childhood was. Even if you had the perfect parents, there was something in you that got hurt at some point. And when we continue to project it and project it and project it until we realize, wait a minute, everything out here is out picturing something within me. And we begin to own every part of this. And every moment is an opportunity to evolve, to grow, to love, to awaken. So, namaste to all of life, because all of life is sacred. This is a sacred journey we're in. And then we come to know that the fullness of God is right where you're at. See, my friends, we're here to awaken to our divinity. But you know what? Awakening to our divinity is not enough. Many, many people throughout the world are awakening to their divinity. Once we awaken to our divinity, then we have a sacred responsibility. Because our species is awakening. And it's also very beautiful, because for the first time, we have an opportunity to create something better for our future, for 7 generations coming forth. Because the moment you awake and you realize that, wait a minute, I am one with everybody. If I hurt my brother, I'm actually hurting myself. The moment that we come to know that we are one, then we want to be a beneficial presence. And we want to say, God, use me and guide me. And then we begin to use the mind constructively. And the same mind that kept us in a prison is the same mind that liberates us, that we can use it for our highest and best potential for the good of all. Then we begin to ask the right questions. Okay, so how does an awakened society look like, feel like? What are we here to do? How does this awakening show up in politics, in our financial systems, in our institutions, in our spiritual communities? How do we live this awakening? And this is the challenge. This is the exciting part that we are right now evolving to. It's like, as humanity, we have been in maybe a teenager stage, but we're waking up to something greater. It was Pierre de Chardin that called this collective knowing the noosphere, from the word know, from the Greek mind. So collectively, there is our planetary knowing is here, and that is evolving. Just like the internet continues to evolve, and it evolves us, we evolve, and we continue to expand our consciousness. And that's so wonderful. You know, we don't relate with anymore the way that we did 20 years ago. You could see it in the movies today. You can see it everywhere, that something is definitely awakening. And this, my friends, is so amazing, because the moment you are taking responsibility to live in the presence of God, to live as the presence, to be your sacred, most divine self, no matter what, you're actually influencing the whole. The whole. One little grain of sand that is moved here influences the whole. You are an important part of existence, even when you have believed yourself to be insignificant. Turn to the person next to you and say, you are an important part of existence. You matter. You matter. I don't care how many mistakes you've made. You matter. You matter. So the next time that you catch yourself, your holy, holy self, your I am, being like, oh, I am so unhappy. I am so worthless. I am no good. Oh, I am so confused because I don't know what my life's purpose is. Stop that. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Know that you're coming from your BS. Your belief system. What did you think I was going to say? No. Let the belief systems go. Let the old programming go. Let that identification with a little insignificant person go. You are the universe in person. The fullness of God is right where you're at. Own it. Be it. All life is sacred. Right where you are sitting is the fullness of God. Woo! Feel it. Yes. Then we can relax and show up with life with more curiosity, because we know that we no longer have to be with our hearts closed. We can open our hearts and trust life. Trust life. Because even those that insult you and try to put you down and so forth, they're doing their best. They're believing, they're thinking. They're in their BS. But you can step out of that and know that there is a sacredness to your life, and everything is whispering, you are divine. You are beautiful. You're magnificent. You are radiant. You are luminous, because that is who we are. We've been living too much out of our lies. It is time to live from the truth. Whew. And then, when we discover what is unchanging, we can rest in our natural sense of self. And it is as simple as just stop. The mind wants to make everything complicated. It is so simple that it gets overlooked. It is so simple as right here, right now, just stop thinking for a moment and just be. Learn the language of the heart, because there's greater intelligence here than here, more electromagnetic activity going on here than here. Listen to what your heart has to say. Breathe. Short moments during the day of just simply stopping and being your luminous self. Find that word that you're willing to show up and be this year. Let every doing come from this beingness. If you have a very, very busy day, more time you need to stop and be. Breathe and be. And you will find that you will get a lot more done by short moments of stopping during the day, and get yourself out of the way. Let God be God. Here I am, God. Use me. Guide me. Let's say that together. Here I am, God. Use me. Guide me. Every moment is an opportunity to discover your radiance, your magnificence. And while I am in this process of discovering, I then discover that the whole of God is right where I'm at. And it is present at every point in space at the same time. It is infinite, it is spacious, it is unlimited, unbound, and it is right here, right now, in each and every one of us. And all it is asking of us is our simple willingness to open and recognize that the kingdom of God is right here, right now. Be open, be available, and say yes to the sacredness of life no matter what. And take a breath and enjoy every moment of the journey, because it is not about the destination. It is about being present right here, right now, and recognize that you are the one. You are the divine in incarnation here and now. Blessings.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Positive Spiritual Living Podcast, brought to you by Unity on the Bay, a spiritual community located in Miami, Florida. Unity on the Bay is supported by the generosity of its community. If you'd like to make a donation or learn more about Unity on the Bay, please visit unityonthebay.org. You can also follow Unity on the Bay on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for even more positive spiritual inspiration. Until next time, thanks for listening and many blessings. Namaste.